We have some massive trade news surrounding the Philadelphia 76ers and the Miami Heat, including Jimmy Butler. Now, it's nothing official, but again, a hypothetical trade that has been circling the internet for the last day or two, and it's really taking it by storm. We're going to break it all down on this episode of Heat Digest right now. So let's get to it. Again, nothing official. It's all hypothetical in the sense of what one team would have to give up and if Miami would even be willing to. Again, it's not Philadelphia, and it's not the coming from the exact source of the Philadelphia 76ers organization or the Miami Heat's organization. But again, here's the NBA Central on Twitter posting this. The Miami Heat are unlikely to be interested in Philadelphia's assets in a potential trade for Jimmy Butler, despite Philadelphia being able to offer up to 3 first-round picks and 3 first-round pick swaps per Flash Sports Buzz on Twitter, going on to say, and I quote, even if the 76ers offered their 3 available first-round picks and 3 first-round pick swaps, it seems unlikely that would entice Miami, which loathes the idea of trading all-star caliber players for draft picks, end of quote. Again, they tagged the article there below. And then we will get to it in just a second. But again, we know that this is not actually very accurate in the sense that it's not coming from Philadelphia. It's not coming from the Miami Heat. So in the sense that Miami wouldn't accept it, we can believe that to the degree that we know that Miami wants to win. We know that with Jimmy, with Bam, with the other surrounding pieces, we are in a good spot to go make a push at a deep playoff run. We're just missing that one, maybe 2 pieces on our roster. But again, we do have 2 young pieces in Jaquez and Jovic. Whether or not we'd want to give up someone like Butler and bring in 3 to 6 different draft picks in this upcoming draft is totally just a different route in which the Miami Heat would then have to entirely alter their course that they're currently on. So again, I do believe Barry Jackson here when he does say this, referring to the idea that the Miami Heat would not really be interested in going out and getting all of these draft picks because it would go from a win now scenario to a win down the line scenario. And I don't really think that's what Pat Riley and the rest of this Miami Heat roster is really looking to do. Now, if you click on the picture again, it takes you to the article. Now, the article goes on to say the first quote that we just addressed, even if the 76ers offered their 3 available first-round picks and 3 first-round pick swaps, it seems unlikely that would entice Miami, which loathes the idea of trading all-star caliber players for draft picks. That trade, nevertheless, would be permitted under NBA cap rules, going on to say, but here's how a Butler/Philadelphia trade could realistically work. If Miami and Philadelphia find a third team that converts those 3 76ers first-round picks and would give the Heat a very good established player in return as part of a 3-team deal, with that third team pocketing the 76ers draft assets. Now, that could possibly make sense if Philly can land Jimmy, then give their draft picks to a third team, and then that third team, possibly Cleveland, then sending Donovan Mitchell to the Miami Heat. Obviously, I don't think that would be the entirety of the trade for Jimmy to go to Philly, Donovan to go to Miami, and then Philadelphia to give up those 3 to 6 first-round draft picks to the Cleveland Cavaliers. That would be a doozy of a trade. I honestly really enjoy when it's the offseason, almost even more than the regular season, due to the fact that all these teams are trying so hard to make all the finances work, trying to get their teams to be better than they were the year prior. And I love the science behind it, and I really do enjoy those 3-team trades, those 2-team trades that really intend to make both teams better, and they have to do all the work on both ends to really make sure the trade is even and they're getting wins and the other team's not losing wins. And it's overall, I really do enjoy it. But again, goes on to say, ESPN's Brian Windhorst at least twice in the past week has warned viewers to keep an eye on the Philadelphia 76ers as a potential landing spot for Butler if they aren't able to sign impending Clippers free agent Paul George into their $60 million in cap space. Now, Paul George is really the outlier in this conversation. If the Philadelphia 76ers can go out and land Paul George, they obviously are not going to try to go out and get Jimmy Butler, as again, I'm not sure how their lineup is going to look to begin with, but with Maxey and Embiid, and then obviously Tobias Harris is still there, whether or not they would move him in order to really open up some room for Paul George, that seems like the most reasonable option and the most logical option at least. But again, whether or not they're both there or if it's just Paul there, they do have that definitive defending wing who has the ability to score the basketball at a high level. And that's really just another version of Jimmy Butler. I think that's a fair comparison when you compare Paul George to Jimmy Butler. They're really the same type of player in the sense that they both are defensive-minded wings that have the ability to really stretch the floor while still facilitating the basketball and doing really everything up and down the floor. Again, great basketball players, but again, not the same person. Now we go on to the final quote. The negatives. 1, Miami would be strengthening an Eastern Conference rival in Philadelphia. That's 100% true, and a great reason for Miami not to send Jimmy back to Philadelphia. And number 2, the Heat couldn't get any player back from the Philadelphia 76ers except backup center Paul Reed. Joel Embiid and Reed are the only experienced oh my gosh, 76ers under contract for next season. The positive, because the 76ers have cap space to absorb Butler's $48.8 million salary, Miami would not need to take equal salary or close to equal salary in return if a third team is involved, which would seem necessary. Now, again, it's really seeming like if this trade is going to take place, there has to be it has to be three teams. It has to be Miami, it has to be Philadelphia, and it has to be a third team. Obviously, it could be Cleveland. It could be really any other team in the NBA that has the assets to really present themselves in order to be involved in this trade, in order to land either a surplus of draft picks or possibly another player from the Philadelphia 76ers. Again, this is really where the fun begins, as again, it's not fully the offseason yet. Free agency hasn't officially started yet. The contract extension window hasn't officially opened yet as well. We still have a whiles away. And again, we do still have that NBA draft coming up at late June where all these draft picks are going to be utilized, if not moved. So again, I love the way this works. I can't wait to see how things play out, and I think it's going to be chaotic. I don't think Jimmy's going to be moved. I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to stay consistent here. I genuinely believe that Jimmy Butler won't be moved. Now, could he be moved? Absolutely. They could trade him as soon as they wanted to, the second they get a decent enough offer. But again, I'm believing in Pat Riley when he said that they were not going to be moved. When Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo both weren't going to be moved, I'm going to be trustful in the fact that Jimmy, like all of the articles we've covered, like in last video when the GQ guy Rohan covered Jimmy Butler at the Miami Grand Prix this past weekend, where he talked about loving Miami, loving the organization, loving the city, loving the people. It seems like both sides really do enjoy their company, enjoy their abilities on both ends, and then being with one another in the sense of Jimmy being in Miami, playing for the Miami Heat organization, and then obviously Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra really enjoying Jimmy obviously being there and being their leader, not only on the floor but off the floor. And again, whether or not things do change is to be determined, because we never know what team is going to call, what they're going to offer, because if there is a good enough offer, you never know if Pat Riley is going to pull the trigger. He's a great businessman. He is the Godfather. He understands everything that he really sees because he's been in the game for so long, and he's so experienced in the field. But again, I do have the draft picks here for the Philadelphia 76ers. In 2025, their first round pick they own if 1 through 6 is protected, sent to the Thunder if 7 through 30. So if it's picks 1 through 6, it's theirs, it's protected, it doesn't be moved. If it's picks 7 through 30, it goes to Oklahoma City. Now for the second, it belongs to the Thunder. It seems like the Thunder own a lot of picks, not just for the Philadelphia 76ers, but in the entirety of the league. Their first round pick in 2026, they own it if it's 1 through 4, sent to the Thunder if it's 5 through 30, and if not settled from 2025, least favorable for Thunder's own picks. Second belongs to the Thunder. And then in 2027, own if 1 through 8 protected, it's sent to the Nets if it's 9 through 30, and their second round pick, Bucks pick, none or sent to the Thunder if first round protection from 2025, 2026, or 2027 still isn't settled. I know it seems a bit confusing, but it's just saying if the Thunder don't get the pick in 25 or 26, then in 27, if they haven't got either of them, then they would get it in 27, that at least being the second round pick. And then in 2028, the first round pick 1 through 8, they do own, sent to the Nets or Suns if it's 9 through 30, and and twice there, and not settled from the 2027 Clippers pick unprotected. Then the second round, own or sent to the Nets if first round protection from 27 to 28 isn't settled. And then finally in 2029, they own their pick, and then a pick swap, which was a pick swap with the Clippers. And then in the second, they have the Blazers pick in 2029. So again, they have a lot of picks. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to whether or not it's in the first top 7 or the top 8, and whether or not they have to swap with Oklahoma City, the Bucks, Portland, whoever it may be. Because, again, it can be a circus, especially with Oklahoma City, because they have just done a great job in creating a monopoly on these NBA drafts, as they have so many draft picks going forward for like the next 20 years. So, again, shout out to the Oklahoma City management, because they have been just a vacuum machine when it comes to draft picks over the last 10 years or so. So again, it's going to be crazy. I can't wait to see how this is really going to work. I'm just going to pull up this one more time for the potential of the idea of 3 first-round picks and 3 first-round pick swaps. It's absolutely an absurd offer. Again, it hasn't been officially offered, so take it with a grain of salt. But again, whether or not the Miami Heat do it is going to be interesting. I can't wait to see if there's counter offers, if that's a real concrete offer later down the line in the offseason. And I just can't wait to see the actual negotiating, what is made public, to see how this is handled by Pat Riley and the Miami Heat, as well as how they deal with Jimmy Butler, and see if Jimmy Butler is very vocal about going back to Philadelphia, especially if talks do increase. But again, thought this was going to be a fun little video for you guys to get out. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. And again, subscribe to the channel if you're a part of the 84% that is not currently subscribed to the channel. You guys have been killing it as of late. We do appreciate all the love and support, so thank you guys so very much. But I'll see you guys on the next episode of Heat Digest.